back to Nairas and Smiles. Today, I finally, after a whole year of having to hold in my experience and not tell anyone, I finally get to tell you guys about an experience that happened 1 year ago, and it was one of the best experiences of my life. So 1 year ago today, I was invited onto the set of The Hate U Give by Angie Thomas, and I got to be an extra as well as interview the cast, and it was one of the best experiences of my life. I'm going to share with you guys about the book, and then we'll get into the movie adaptation and just how amazing it is and my whole day on set. But I have so much footage to show you guys, but before we get into everything, I'm going to talk about the book a little bit, and then we'll get into the day that was just life-changing, okay? So last year, The Hate U Give by Angie Thomas came out, and it was everything. It was everything this world, this country needed, and thank God for Angie Thomas, because this book has changed my life, and I know it's changed the lives of many other people. So if you don't know, The Hate U Give by Angie Thomas is about a 16-year-old girl named Star who witnesses the murder of her best friend by a police officer while unarmed. Through this event, Star discovers her own voice and her own activism and becomes this amazing voice in her community. It is an incredibly inspiring story, and I cried while on the airplane. I was reading it on the airplane. I just felt like it came out at the perfect time with everything going on here in the US with the police brutality and the Black Lives Matter movement. Like, it could not have come out at a better time. I was able to relate to this book so much. Another big part of this book is that our main character, Star, she's growing up in two different worlds. She's from a primarily Black community, but she goes to a primarily white school. Her whole life, Star has kind of faced this duality because of this, and she feels like she has to be two different people when she's at home versus when she's at school. And I think a lot of people have experienced this duality in their life, and that's a big part of how people were able to relate to it and how I was personally able to relate to the book. Shortly after this book was released, it was announced that it would be adapted to film, and I was over the moon. I was just like, oh my god, I was so incredibly happy, because out of all the books that were released in 2017, out of everything that I've read and seen, this was the one book that I was like, this needs to be turned into a movie. Last year, while in college, while reading this book, I got an email from Fox asking if I wanted to come on the set of The Hate U Give and be an extra and come and talk to the cast and oh my god, I thought it was a fake email, okay? I did not think it was real. I was like, where? A week later, I was on a plane to Atlanta, going to the set of the movie, and I was freaking out. Me, as well as a few other YouTubers, were invited, and we all caught a plane there and met up. The very first day, as soon as we got on set, we were taken to the school in which a lot of the scenes are filmed at. It's the school that Star goes to in the book, and it was so surreal to see everything set up. They had, you know, they were rolling out the red carpet. There were so many people there setting up and just getting the school ready to shoot different scenes. And while we were there, Sabrina Carpenter, who plays Haley, and Amandla Stenberg, who is our star, our main character, she was also there, and they were filming one of the scenes in the gymnasium. First thing we got to do was go and sit behind the bleachers and watch them shoot the whole, there's a basketball scene, slight spoiler, but yeah, there's a basketball scene, and so the first thing we got to do was go and just listen and watch them shoot this scene, and it was so incredible. I'd never been on a film set before, and it was surreal to see how just a movie was made. I am a huge fan of Amandla Stenberg, and she's just an incredible voice in the Black community, and I just look up to her so much. Just so to see her shooting a scene and to be sort of hiding behind the bleachers watching, which sounds a little creepy, was incredible. After that, we went upstairs to the school, and we got to see, just walking through the school, we got to see everyone setting up the equipment. One thing that I want to stress the most out of this whole experience was that after being there a whole day, I can honestly tell you, from the cast to the crew to the people working in the cameras to the people that are just assistants running around setting up to the director and the producer, everyone there was so incredibly passionate and believed in this story, believed in Star Carter and The Hate U Give, and I had no idea what it was gonna be like when I first got there. And when you walk on set, the first feeling you get is like every person here believes in this story and is working so incredibly hard to make sure it's told correctly and presented to the world in the best way possible. And I almost cried several times that day, just seeing the love and the passion and listening to the director talk about the story and just watching it sort of, this project come together. Inspiring, and I'm just so happy that Angie Thomas has such a wonderful group of people bringing her story to life. And I'm just, okay, back to the story. First person that we got to interview was Sabrina Carpenter, who is the loveliest person in real life. Like, let me tell you, like, I remember she walked in and she was just a few minutes late. She's like, sorry everybody, I had to stop at Chick-fil-A, and she had a Chick-fil-A bag, and immediately I'm like, I love her. I love her. I love her so much. Sabrina Carpenter will be playing one of Star's friends, Haley, in the book. We started asking her questions, of course, about the book and about the movie, and she was just so well-spoken, and the way you could just hear how much this book meant to her. And like I said, I was just blown away every time I would talk to someone, whether it be cast or crew, how knowledgeable they were about the topics that this book discusses, as well as the book itself. And it was so, like, I was enamored the whole time. So right after we interviewed her, we went to get our clothing / costumes on. The scene that we got to be extras in was the prom scene, which was so fun because if you guys don't know, was homeschooled. I've never been to prom before, so it was like I got to go to prom, but this prom was way better than probably any prom I would have went to if I went to a regular school. We got to get our hair and makeup done, and that was so fun. After that, we went to the location, which was in the school, to start filming the prom scene, which was so incredible. We probably did maybe like 14 takes, and me and Hannah from A Clockwork Reader, she was there. That's how we met, if anyone was wondering. And by some lucky chance, me as well as Hannah from A Clockwork Reader were placed right in the front of the school, which is like the beginning of the scene. Our sort of jobs were to walk across after Amandla got out of the car and started walking up towards the school. We got to like kind of walk behind her. After we shot like the very first take of that, Amandla came up to me. I was standing in the corner waiting for them to like reset the shot, and she came up to me and she's like, I love your hair. And I'm just like standing there like, I love you. And I was like, oh my god, thank you. And we like talked for a second, and then she had to get back in the car so we could do the scene again. But literally this was before we even got to interview her, and she just came up and said hi, and it was just so sweet. And oh my god, after we shot this whole scene, which was the coolest thing to see, just how a scene is shot, because you know, you watch a lot of movies, but you're never really, like, you don't know like how it's done, and just all the effort. Like I said, this was like a really short scene. I think it was only like 2 minutes. We were there until 3 in the morning just shooting this one part of the prom scene. So anyways, like I said, after we shot this scene, which was so fun, and they had music playing and there was a bunch of other extras there, we got to interview Amandla. And so it was, like I said, it was 3 in the morning. Everyone was really tired. We had been there all day, the actors and actresses. Amandla had been there all day, and still she was just the sweetest, kindest person. Her love for this book, let me tell you, you can see in the interview, but she had read this book, and as soon as she heard that it was going to be adapted to the movie, she's the one that actually reached out and told the directors and the producers, like, I want to be a part of this. And that was incredible. I had no idea that she reached out to them instead of them reaching out to her, which just goes to show how much this book means to her and this story means to her. I've been a fan of Amandla since way back when she did the Hunger Games, and so to finally meet her in person and just see how real of a person she is and how knowledgeable and active in the Black community she is just, it was incredible. It was meeting someone I look up to, and it was amazing. And I can't believe it was a year ago, and it feels like it was just yesterday. After a huge, long, amazing day of just getting to be a part, like even just a small part of this movie, we took a bus back to our hotel rooms, and the next morning I caught a flight back home and I had to take a test. Like I said, I'm in university or in college, so the next day, as soon as I flew back, I had to go in and take like a science test. And the whole time I was sitting in the science test, it was just, I was like, did this happen? Did I actually go and do that? Like, it felt so surreal. But yeah, it was, like I said, one of the best experiences of my life, and I, even to this day, like looking back, I just feel so incredibly lucky to have done that, and I'm so excited for this movie to see the finished product. You know, after getting to go behind the scenes, this movie, I'm gonna cry. There's gonna be so many tears, I can tell you that much. So the movie comes out October 5th. If you're watching this, you still have time to read the book. I'm so excited to see it, the finished product in theaters. Until then, please enjoy this behind the scenes footage on set, as well as the interviews of Amandla and Sabrina, and I hope you enjoy, and I hope this video inspires you to go and pick up the book and check out the movie when it comes out. But until next time, keep reading, and I will talk to you guys later. Enjoy.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. Today's the day. Today's the day. On my way to the set. I have the book. So excited. Oh my god.
We're on the set of The Hate You Give.
I'm with Naya.
I'm with Hannah. Hi. Wait, what's your name?
Hi, Tyler.
Tyler. Nice to meet you, Tyler. Hi, Christine. Hi.
Oh, she wanna climb. Just walk around. Come on, girl.
And this is where the director sits, in this chair over here. Get the angles, James, get the angles.
I know, shoot, they're gonna hire me for a cameraman role.
Oh my god, I just wanna...
I'm
Maybe we
also
should switch.
not drinking the same water as you guys, obviously.
Naya, for taking the time out to like answer our questions. We're so excited that you're like playing Haley. Being a part of production so far, is it like, has it been just like go, 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 like super crazy?
It has. It's been very, very nonstop, but I think that's something that's so great about our directors, because the script is, you know, it can be like looked at as a heavier subject matter,
right.
and the way that he shoots and the way that he keeps production moving makes it feel like we're just always on the go, and we're always moving really quick at a very fast pace. So it helps all of our energy, and it helps us just have a really good time while we're doing it.
How was your audition process? Like, did you read the book before or the script, and like, how did you feel about it?
I read, sorry to interrupt you.
No.
No, I read the book before, and then I found out that they were obviously turning it into a movie, but that was before I got the audition. So once I got the audition, I was so excited, but I was like, it's gonna be for Haley, isn't it? and so I went in and I read, and obviously the casting director is incredible. She's done some amazing things, and I was very shocked when I booked it. Like, I had no idea. I Skyped with George, the director, before I booked it officially, but yeah, that was a pretty short process.
So, as you said, the script can become like kind of heavy sometimes. How have you dealt with that, or have there been any moments on set that it's like everyone's just like, I need a second?
You know what? It is interesting, like how everyone is dealing with it, because we all deal with it in different ways, and obviously some scenes are heavier than others. But everyone's really good at like staying like where they need to stay in their mindset. You know, it's staying focused, truly. But also knowing that we can have fun like in between takes, and like if we need to get out of it for a second.
Giggle.
Giggle a little, sing some songs. Today we were working on this harmony, like we were trying to be Destiny's Child. It was not working out, let's just say that.
We had the privilege of like sneakily being behind the bleachers watching you work. How is that sometimes when you have to like keep doing it, but you have to stay in the
like it's so physical.
You have to stay like in the character, but you have to do it so many times, and you have to make your lines sound organic. How does that?
Great question. Great question. Honestly, I don't know. I think any actor, like, I don't know how you answer this question, because I feel like it's just something that you know going into it. You're gonna have to do it a lot. It's gonna have to sound pretty good every time, or at least once, so they can have a really good take. But no, I mean, the physicality of it all, like especially the scenes that we were doing today, we had a lot of basketball rehearsal ahead of time, which is so funny because it's such a short scene. I don't think I touched the ball. But in order to be able to move, and for some of us that had played basketball and haven't played basketball, like in order to do that, like they were so great about having us basketball rehearsal every single day, like on rehearsal days, on shoot days, just so we knew what we were doing and we were comfortable once we got there, and so it just felt super easy at that point.
Are you pretty good?
No. Although I make one shot every time. It's the one when you hit the corner of the ball. The ball. Oh my God! This ball. The rim. No, it's not the rim.
No,
it's the
backboard.
backboard. There we go. That's what it's called. Obviously, I'm not a basketball player. cut out every part before that and then just insert that sentence. That makes me sound good.
Haley's obviously like a really difficult character to play, especially like in the context of his story. How is that for you?
It's been very interesting. I feel like every time I open my mouth, I want to shut it immediately because in my head, I think before I speak. And I think it's something that this character doesn't relate to. But I think it's interesting because there are so many of these people in the world that we know. And I think we all ourselves have these moments where we don't think before we speak. That's how we make mistakes and that's how we learn from them. I think Haley is learning from her mistakes slowly. I think towards the end of the film, she does start to realize where she's done wrong. But it definitely is a long path there because I think she's just kind of been born into this world where she was very lucky and very privileged and doesn't quite understand that yet, and especially doesn't understand what her friend Star has been going through. How Angie writes is something that just feels like it's so personal to our age group and our demographic, but it also, she's not talking down to like the age group, you know what I'm saying? Like she's very good at communicating that our feelings and our emotions across with her words, and I think the story was just like I said, it's very relatable for young girls that are going through kind of having to be a couple different people in order to please everybody, and sometimes putting other people's feelings before our own, and you know, sometimes just laying back so you don't kind of make a scene or cause any commotion, just kind of staying out of people's way, when sometimes in order to like grow and face your fears, you kind of have to get in people's way.
What do you hope that people like when they like leave the theater? What do you hope they walk away with?
They leave the theater. Yes. I hope it opens a conversation. I really do. I hope it starts a dialogue, and I hope that it opens people's minds to listening, to thinking before they speak, to educating themselves. Yeah.
Thanks for your time.
Thanks,
And
guys. I gotta go get a dress on.
We're going to prom.
We're all going to prom. Let's go.
Are you going to prom with me?
Yes, oh my gosh.
Awesome, yeah, we're good.
Just to start off, like, what was your experience reading the book when you first like got your hands on it? Like, what was your reaction to it?
My experience with the book was eerie because I related to it so heavily. I think a lot of people who read it do because it's such an authentic book, but also because I was someone who grew up in a lower income black neighborhood and went to a white private school. And so figuring out how to navigate those two worlds was really challenging and was very similar to Star's experience.
So do you feel like you've put a lot of yourself into this role
Yes.
as you've been going through it?
Yeah, I think I've definitely put a lot of myself into it, but also brought out more of the parts of myself that I had to hide when I was in school, which has been really kind of fulfilling.
With this role, did you feel like, oh my god, this is kind of difficult because I have such a deep connection with it, or was it like, I can do this, this is like...
It's both. It's more challenging in that it hits me deeper, but it's also easier in a way because it feels so authentic and real. Yeah.
What scene were you most excited to film? Or reading the
Ooh.
script?
We still haven't filmed it yet, but I'm really excited to shoot the riots.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? I'm not gonna use the word riot. Actually, the rebellion. The scene where Star takes the tear gas that's been thrown at her and she throws it back at police.
Yes.
I'm excited to film that.
You were attached to it like super early on. How was like the process of like getting started?
Yeah, not a lot of people know about that, but I actually was attached before the book was even done.
Dang.
Yeah, and there wasn't even.
How did that happen?
Basically, the unfinished manuscript of the book was being kind of passed around, and my agency got a hold of it and said, "Oh, you might be interested in this." My mom actually was the one who found it. She was like, "This reminds me so much of you. I think you should read it." And I read it, and I was like, "Oh my God, I need to do this." And so persistently sought after it, and they were really interested in me, just because of, I guess, kind of how I've utilized my platform to speak on things such as Black Lives Matter. And so they felt that it would be a really appropriate fit, and they had me come in and audition and everything. And Angie was stoked to have me cast, and so that was the most important thing, that we have her support and her love. Was thinking about how important this movie is in terms of you know, distributing something to mass audiences that's real and isn't talked about enough. Yeah.
Cool.
Exactly.
And what do you hope that people like walk away with when they leave the theater?
Yeah,
like
they could take one thing out of
they
it.
could take one thing from it. What would you want them to take from it?
I just want people to see Black people as human.
Thank you so much.
You're so sweet. Oh my God.